What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown presented by 9NINE2. Today we have 3 battles lined up for you from Formula Drift Orlando 2025. Scorched. It was an amazing event. The battles were heated. We're going to go over the top 3 battles that we saw there, which was Matfield and Castro. We have Bachis against Minowa, and we also have Castro against Minowa as well too. So we're going to go over those 3 battles. I'm going to give you a little insight and a little feedback from the judges on why we went the way we did. But first, we're going to get into the track map, and I'm going to give you a little breakdown on what we want and what we wanted at Orlando, what the track map was, where the zones were, where the interclip was, or the interclips were, and what we wanted to see for them. So let's get into it. All right, now here you can see that this is the map that we have, the layout for Formula Drift Orlando. You can see here, we're going to go right into it. This is the start zone over here. So the drivers will be starting off. They'll be taking off. You see the 1, 2, 3 cones. They need to initiate by the first cone at the latest. These are actually painted into lines and stuff like that now, so it's a little bit more visible for the drivers. Once they get to that, they initiate. We want to see them high up on the bank. A good amount of angle, good amount of speed going through, carrying consistent. We don't want to see a lot of wavering. We just want to see them deep into the zone as long as possible, coming all the way through, completes the zone. You can see that we have an interclip box here in Orlando as well too. So you have the interclip with the interclip box. That box means that for the driver in the lead for interclip 1, the front right tire is what needs to go to the center of that box. Then there's a transition. The transition goes into interclip 2, which means that the lead car's front left will be going through that box in the center to be perfect. And then you can see after the interclip, after interclip 2, they go right into outside zone 2, just like outside zone 1. We want to see them nice and clean, enter in appropriately, carry deep all the way through, finishing the zone nice and consistently. We don't see any wavering on the throttles. Now, another thing you're going to see here is you can see that this outside zone, the back line lines up to the embankment of it. So if a driver drifts up to the embankment, that'll be considered a tire off, and there'll be deductions here. Now, for here, 3 tires off is a 0, and that's what we ended up going through here. So pretty simple layout, but it's not as simple as you think. Because imagine now we hyper focus on everything that they're doing here as well too. So even though it is just 2 corners and it is just 2 interclips, there's a lot that can be criticized here. One more thing that I want to go over is the decel or the momentum map that we have right here. You can see the red marking here. Now, how did we come into deciding that that's where it would be? Well, when we were going through practice, Brian Egger, one of the other judges, spoke to Kevin, was able to pull all the information from all the drivers through practice, and in this area is where you saw people do the most momentum change. All right, there was a group of people that didn't do any momentum change at all, which is fantastic. But the ones that we did see, it was happening right here. So that's why we decided to put the momentum area in that little spot. It's very small, so there pretty much shouldn't be anything going on there. All right, that's the track map. Now let's get into our first battle, which is Matfield and Jonathan Castro. Now, the first battle that we're going to be reviewing is Jonathan Castro and Matfield. This is the one more time battle. So they originally had a battle. They ended up going one more time. This is the one more time battle. This is where we ended up decided who was going to win. Now, I ended up going one more time. Robin Nishida and Brian Egger ended up going siding with Castro. So we're going to go over this, and we're going to give you a little feedback from our perspectives. All right, you can see Castro initiates, gets into outside zone 1. Does seem a little bit lower on the bank there. Comes out of outside zone 1. Goes into the interclip. Good interclip. Juice transition. You can see Field's a little bit on the inside there. You can see Castro into the zone as well too. Field really giving him some pressure there. All right, now let's go through the replay so we can kind of see how this all unfolded here. Now you can see Castro. You can see he does get into the zone. I think I kind of want him to be a little bit deeper. You can see Matfield's definitely applying the pressure. Outside zone 1 goes into interclip 1. Transition, you can see Field comes a little bit too on the inside. Castro gets into the interclip. You can see not as deep into outside zone 2. Does get deeper as he progressively goes through. Matfield progressively just give him pressure consistently through that whole layout there. All right, Matfield in the lead. Castro in the chase. Matfield initiates, gets into outside zone 1. Now, just by looking at it from the naked eye, I do feel like Matfield is a little bit deeper into outside zone 1. Castro, good proximity, interclip 1 transition, goes into interclip 2. Castro applying the pressure there. You can see a little bit of the gap there. We do see that Matt Fields does put a tire up on the embankment there, so there is going to be a deduction there. You see a little bit of a separation there toward the end. See, we get a little replay again. Now you can see there. See, from my perspective, I feel like Field is a little bit deeper in outside zone 1. We are going to look at the side by side and kind of give you guys the breakdown from there as well too. You can see right here, Matt Fields gets on throttle, accelerates, a little less angle from Castro, gets back into angle. You see Field definitely gets up onto the embankment a little bit, drops the tire outside of that zone. Another perspective, you can see the initiation. Field gets up into the bank. Castro is just applying that pressure there. Goes into inner clip 1. Here comes a transition. Good transition. Better transition than Chase Castro than Field did. See here the separation starts to happen. Field creates distance, dips a tire, or has a tire go off track, comes back into the zone, and the end. We're going to go look at the side-by-side here so we can kind of give you guys a little bit of clarity on what's going on. Now, from my notes, all right, in the lead, in outside zone 1, Castro gets one tire into the zone consistently the whole way through. Matt Fields in the lead fills the zone consistently the entire way and is deeper in comparison. Now in the chase and outside zone 1, Matt Field has good proximity. Castro has good proximity as well too. But because I feel that because I feel Matt Field had better depth in outside zone 1, I gave that area of the layout the advantage to Matt Field. So we can go through here. So from here, I feel that Field is just a little bit deeper into the zone, maybe a touch more angle. I do see that Castro has really good proximity, but I do feel that Castro has good proximity to Matt Field, but I feel that's because Field gave him a really good lead, gave him the pocket open, everything that he needed. Castro, you can see just a little bit lower on there, and I feel like Matt Fields is getting close, but he's being cautious and he's being smart. He gets too close and something happens, he's going to get put into a rough spot, and we'll have to make a judgment call on it. So, like I said, in that first section of outside zone 1, I'm going to give the advantage to Matt Field. Now, going into inner clip 1. Jonathan Castro misses the inner clip box. Matt Field just barely gets into the inner clip box. And we have good proximity for both drivers in the chase. So we can come here. This is Castro. We're going to pay attention to Castro. And you can see here, this back wheel is what needs to line up with that cone. I feel like he misses it. Castro, Field barely gets into it, but in comparison, Field is closer to the mark in the lead in inner clip 1 than Castro is. And because of that, I'm giving the inner clip portion of the layout to Matt Field. So I got Matt Fields in OZ1, I got Matt Fields in OZ2. Matt Fields in OZ1, and I got Matt Fields in the advantage on inner clip 1. Now, going into inner clip 2, in my notes, I have Jonathan Castro in inner clip 2 has a perfect inner clip. Right in the middle of the box, right where he needs to be. Matt Field just barely gets into the inner clip box. All right, and because of that, just barely gets into the inner clip box. Jonathan's right in the middle where he needs to be. We also have Matt Fields going into inner clip 2, dives way too hard on the inside, takes out the cone. Jonathan Castro has really good proximity. So Field isn't as precise on the inner clip marking in the lead, and in the chase does a miscalculation and transitions a little bit too on the inside. So we're going to see Castro does a really good job with the inner clip 2, and we're going to see Matt Field dives a little bit on the inside. So you can see here, Jonathan set himself up. You can see Matt Fields is a little bit on the inside here, a little bit more way on the inside. And you can see as we're getting close, Castro does an amazing job with inner clip 2. Perfect placing. Field is there, but he also cut the line a little bit in order to get there. You can see Field in the lead. Gets into the box, but in comparison, Jonathan does a better job, and Jonathan has way better proximity. So in that section of inner clip 2, I give the advantage to Jonathan Castro. So again, OZ1, I have the advantage for Matt Field. Inner clip 1, I have the advantage for Matt Field. Inner clip 2, I have the advantage Jonathan Castro. Going into outside zone 2. Okay, now going into outside zone 2, Jonathan Castro gets into the zone, takes a midline through the entire zone, right? Now, Matt Field gets into the zone halfway through, goes too hard and drops a tire, as we stated in the review. And then when it comes to having good proximity, Matt Field had good proximity. Jonathan Castro had good proximity up until Matt Field decided to just pull off, drop a tire at that point. I'm not holding that against Castro in that instance, since Matt Field's overshot that. So in that section of outside zone 2, I give the advantage to Jonathan Castro. So we're going to go through here. You see Field here throws on the afterburners over there. You can see that he's just trying. You see he throws on the afterburners there, creates the separation, and right there is where he drops the tire. Field has really good proximity. Castro is doing everything he needs to do in the lead. Gives him a good lead, gives him the space that he needs. You can see Field is trying to pressure him, anything he to rattle him, but nothing there. So, where does that put me? I have Matt Fields in OZ1. I have Matt Field in inner clip 1. I have Castro in inner clip 2. And I have Castro in outside zone 2. So I'm even. I ended up going one more time when it came to this battle. All right, now, the other judges went a different way. I want to give a little perspective on how Brian Egger saw this call. All right, so from Brian Egger states that Castro leading Field. All right, Castro does a decent job on the initiation and is just a little off the wall entering outside zone 1, but starts falling down after the first third of the zone through the remainder. Field initiates a little lower and works his way up to Castro, but manages to do a good job by matching angle and keeping good proximity for the most part, but has a few bobbles with angle. Castro does a great job in inner clip 1, has a good transition, and is just a little off inner clip 2. Field misses the box in inner clip 1. Field does a good job of timing the transition, but doesn't get the car back into position correctly and beelines to inner clip 2. So you can see this is what Brian is stating right here, is that beeline that he did into inner clip 2, and ending up hitting the clip, which ended up him hitting the clip at that point. He is a little shallow on the line at outside zone 2 and maintains that throughout the finish. Field is on a slightly shallower line and consistently is adjusting angle in order to keep proximity with Castro. So that's what Brian Egger saw from Castro leading Field. Now, when it comes to Field leading Castro, we have Field leading Castro. Field has a good initiation and is high on the bank in outside zone 1. Castro does a similar line to Field and is on a slightly lower line in order to gain proximity from the start and maintains that line around outside zone 1. Field does a great job in inner clip 1, does a good transition and is a little off of inner clip 2. Castro does a good job of inner clip 1 transition and inner clip 2. Field does a good job filling outside zone 2 at the start and then drops a tire over the line about a third of the way through around until before the finish line. Castro loses a little proximity after inner clip 2 and cuts the line at the beginning of outside zone 2 and to attempt to gain proximity, but only manages to gain a little around the zone. Now, when it came to Robbie Nishida, Robbie gave the win to Castro because of Field taking the risk of the center punching the inside clips, keeping up also a tire off in outside zone 2. Castro kept it clean within the track and was able to still put up a good fight. Field was a little too aggressive in both the lead and the chase, so I had to give the win to Castro. So there you have it. We have the 3 judges. I ended up seeing it going one more time. I respect my fellow judges as well too. I totally see where Brian was coming from, and I totally see where Robbie Nishida was coming from. So you can see here, Robbie ended up going to Castro, Brian Egger ended up going to Castro, and I ultimately ended up going one more time. So now we're going to get into the second battle here, which is Odie versus Minowa. All right, moving on to the next battle, we have Odie Bachis against Minowa. This was a really killer battle. Let's get right into it here. We're going to give you a little perspective on how the judges went the way they did and review some of our notes so you guys can get a little feedback from it as well. All right, Odie in the lead, Minowa in the chase. Here comes the initiation. Odie gets into the zone. Minowa right hot on his tail. Good job getting through outside zone 1, coming off of the bank. Here comes inner clip 1. To get to inner clip 1, transition. Minowa right there with him, applying the pressure, going to inner clip 2. Odie into outside zone 2, applying the pressure. Minowa, amazing. Amazing. Clean, clean. What more could you want? Let's look a little bit of the replay here. You can see here, Odie a little bit low in outside zone 1. I'm sure you guys can see that from man angle. Minowa doing a really good job applying the pressure there. Going into inner clip 2. Odie gets a good job of inner clip 1. Going into inner clip 2, does a good job there as well too. Look at Odie just dialed in the front. But because of that solid lead, Minowa was able to get right up there and give him that proximity that we're all looking for. And you can see a little low in the back in outside zone 1. Minowa applying the pressure, coming into inner clip 1. Odie does a good job there. Transition going into inner clip 2. You can see he missed that one a little bit too far on the inside. Gets into outside zone 2. He seems like he's right on the line right there. And Minowa is just on him like white on rice. Crazy. All right, now we're going to switch them around. We're going to have Minowa in the lead and Odie in the chase. All right, and they're off. Minowa is now in the lead. Odie's giving chase. Here comes the initiation going into outside zone 1. Now, just looking real quick, it looks like Minowa is a little bit deeper in outside zone 1. Odie applying the pressure, coming into inner clip 1. Good inner clip 1. Transitions there, both in harmony. Good job in inner clip 2. Then Minowa stretching. Look at this. With angle, on the right line, deep into outside zone 3, and then he creates a gap. That's serious. Let's see if we can get a little replay here of that. But you can see the initiation, from my perspective, I feel like is a little bit higher and deeper in outside zone 1. Odie doing a good job applying the pressure. Coming into inner clip 1, good job. Transition comes through. Inner clip 2, good job. And then right here, man, I mean, look at that. Has angle. He's on the line. And you can see Minowa just creates separation there. Yeah, visually looks a little bit deeper, but look at the proximity from Odie. Odie is no slouch. Odie is right in there, applying this pressure, trying to rattle him, and see if there's going to be any legal mess up that Minowa ends up doing. That car is fast, man. Now we're going to go into the overhead or the side by side, so we can give you a little breakdown and then my notes on how I saw this go down. Going into outside zone 1, Odie in the lead. Odie gets one tire into outside zone 1 consistently through the entire zone. Minowa completely fills outside zone 1 very deep, consistently through the entire zone, deeper in comparison. Now in the chase, Minowa does a good proximity in the chase, matching line and angle. Odie does a good job, great proximity giving, great proximity right up there, being very aggressive in that section of outside zone 1, because I feel that Minowa did a better job in the lead, placing his car up where he needs to be, leaving the pocket open for Odie. I'm giving the advantage in outside zone 1 to Minowa. Now, we can see here, see a little bit lower, you can see we have like maybe a tire there from Odie in comparison. I just feel like Minowa is just doing a better job of getting into the zone where he needs to. He actually gets into a little bit sooner. It's a little bit later there for Odie. Minowa does a good job to adapt. Odie's doing an amazing job here applying the pressure. Now again, this proximity in the chase is a result of the lead driver putting down a good lead line, is deep in the zone, leaves the pocket open, and gives the chase every opportunity he needs in order to do that. That's why that's going on there. Now, Minowa doing a really good job too, also because Odie, toward the end, was able to put on a better line together for him in order to have that pocket exposed. Now going into inner clip 1. Now, going into inner clip 1, Odie has a perfect inner clip. Right in the middle of the box, you can see here, does a really good job. And then we have Minowa in the lead, gets into the inner clip box, but in comparison, I do believe that Bachis actually did a better job in the lead going into inner clip 1. Now in the chase, Minowa and Bachis had good proximity going to inner clip 1. I think just had a touch better. So you can see here, this is Minowa going into the box, just not quite as accurate. Now, still gets in there, gets close, but who did a better job in this section, in this particular battle? I'm giving the advantage of inner clip 1 to Bachis. Now, going into inner clip 2. Now, going into inner clip 2, Bachis is too far on the inside, and it looks like he misses the inner clip box. Now, Minowa a little on the inside and barely gets into the box. So in comparison, Minowa does a better job of being accurate, getting closer to the mark of that inner clip box. Now in the chase, both drivers had really good proximity. I really do like that. Let's go in through here. Transition comes through. Let's pay attention to Odie. I believe Odie's going to be a little up here. We don't want to get close to that cone. We need to put this tire, this front left needs to be in the center of that box. You're going to see he's going to get up here. See what I mean? Outside of the box. Now, Minowa barely gets into that box, just on the line of it there. In comparison, I feel like Minowa does a better job in inner clip 2 all around. So, in that particular area of inner clip 2, I'm giving the advantage to Minowa. Now, we're going to go into outside zone 2. So, just to recap, outside zone 1, I have given the advantage to Minowa. Inner clip 1, I gave the advantage to Bachis. Inner clip 2, I gave it to Minowa. Now we're going into outside zone 2. Now we can see here, Minowa's doing a really great job in outside zone 2, keeps proximity. We saw Odie did a really good job in the lead, so Odie's doing a really good job in the lead. Leaves the pocket, leaves the space open. Minowa does a really good job of staying close, has proximity, match and line, match and angle. Odie does a really good job. I don't know if he just miscalculated over here a little bit, kind of lost rhythm. Minowa gets on throttle, is on the right line, has everything he needs, has angle, and just takes off on him. He does create a gap, but I need you to understand that what's great about him creating a gap this way is that he was on the right line, he had angle, he did everything he needed to do. He wasn't leaving the zone early, he wasn't taking angle away to go faster. No, he was doing everything we requested, and then on top of that, he went fast. Look at that. Good separation there. Minowa glued onto his door. Good proximity. Odie just is not able to close this gap. You can see just right on the line. They're doing everything they need to do. So, going into outside zone 2, just so we can go over the review a little bit here. Going into outside zone 2, Odie Bachis fills outside zone 2 consistently. Does a really good job about that. Here Minowa fills outside zone 2 completely, is deeper in comparison, and establishes a distance like we talked about. Now in the chase, Minowa does a good job of proximity, matches line, matches angle, just like we said. Odie has that separation. In that area, I'm giving the advantage to Minowa. So, with that being said, the entire battle goes to Minowa, whereas I only saw inner clip 1 is where Odie was able to one-up him when it came to that. So I go with Minowa there. Let me give you some information on what the other judges were thinking, specifically Robin Nishida this time. All right, now getting some information from Robin Nishida here on how he saw the battle as well too. Odie's lead, it was an average bank height, a little on the inside of inner clip 2. Overall, it was a good lead. Minowa's chase, low in the beginning of the bank, loses angle at inner clip 1, hits inner clip 2 cone, but this may be due to the lead car closing in on inner clip 2. And again, he's saying that this hit from Minowa may be because Odie just didn't give him any space, a little bit too close on the inside. The pocket really wasn't exposed, which means that the chase driver has no other choice but to get into that clip there. So that's a little bit different than what we saw happen with Matt Field, where he transitioned, dived in hard on the left, and got that inner clip. He put himself there. Here, he had nowhere to go. Minowa had nowhere to go. Odie was right up there. Minowa's like, well, this is as far as I can go. And which puts him directly into the trajectory of getting into that clip there. Now, Now, when it comes to Minowa's lead, all right, Minowa's lead was high up on the back from the start and at the end of the zone. Back up a little bit so we can see a little bit of that there. You can see that Minowa was high up on the back from the start to the end of outside zone 1, slightly shallow line in inner clip 1. Odie's chase, shallow line on the bank, slightly shallow angle in the infield, gapped and outside zone 2. Both drivers did great, and it was a pretty equal. But when it came down to the lead, outside zone 1 and outside zone 2 was just slightly better, and I had to go with Minowa. Now, Brian Egger as well, the other judge, also in agreement with that. You know, you just can clearly see that in outside zone 1, Minowa did a better job, and we can clearly see that there was an established distance that was made from Minowa in outside zone 2. And because of that, it was just clearly to see where we're going to go with this one. This was a good, clean battle. And it just goes to show you that if your timing is just off just a little bit, that's all it takes. That's how good these guys are driving. As you can see here, all 3 judges ended up going one more time. This was an intense battle. It was an intense, good, clean battle. And that's what we want to see. You know, that's exactly what we want to see here. But you can just see, if you are off rhythm just a little bit, that's all it takes. And these young guys are they're out here to rock and roll for sure. So Minowa ends up getting the win here in this battle. An amazing battle. As I said, we're going to get into the final battle, which was the finals, which was Minowa versus Jonathan Castro. All right, so now we're getting ready for the final battle, which is Jonathan Castro versus Hiro Minowa. This was a really great battle. 2 guys we haven't seen on here before going at it in the finals. You know, a really great thing for Jonathan Castro. I believe it's the first time he gets on the podium. Minowa, you know, just absolutely killing it. This was really cool. Now, I'm not saying I don't like seeing the regular guys on the podium, but it's kind of nice to see that there is talent out there that if they're on the right day of the week and they got the good vibe going, they can take anybody out. They can take any Titan out anytime. So let's get into the first battle here. Let's get into the first run of this battle, and we're just gonna give you a little breakdown of how this all went. All right, Jonathan in the lead, and Minowa in the chase. We're gonna take off. Good clean start. Here comes the initiation. Castro gets into outside zone 1. Minowa right there applying pressure. Castro doing everything he needs to. Good outside zone 1. Goes into inner clip 1. Oh, looks a little bit on the inside of inner clip 1. Goes into inner clip 2. Looks like a perfect inner clip 2. Castro doing a good job in the lead. Minowa just applying the pressure, on fire in the chase. Matching line and angle. Beautiful. Beautiful. This kid's on fire, man. On fire. Now, I think the only thing I saw there was an inner clip 1. I think Castro's a little bit too far on the inside. We're going to go check it out here, though. So we have a good job there. Castro, again, kind of like Odie, gets like 1 tire into outside zone 1, then he creeps up. And then we get into, yeah, look at that. It looks like, see this tire? A little bit, I think, misses it there. Transition comes through. Minowa does a good job. Inner clip 2, perfect by Castro. Castro gets into outside zone 2. Good job, Minowa, matching line and angle. Good adaptation. Man, that's serious stuff. Yeah, Castro's doing a great job. Castro's doing a really good lead, not taking anything away from that, but that lead is what's allowing Minowa to have this proximity, to have this confidence. You can see Minowa does trust Castro, and which is why he's putting it on his door here. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now we're going to switch them around. We're going to have Minowa in the lead, Castro in the chase. All right. Now we're going off. Minowa's in the lead, Castro's in the chase. See Minowa way up in outside zone 1. Way up in there. Castro seems like he timed outside zone 1 a little bit off. Good inner clip. Transition comes through. Good inner clip. And then here we just see, very similar to what he did to Odie. I don't know how he does it. It's like he has an extra gear. He's able to save and just go way faster in outside zone 2. Let's watch that replay again. This was a really good lead run. I think Castro in the chase just mistimed his placement in outside zone 1, which kind of created this separation, and then it was just a domino effect throughout the rest of it. See, we can see a little bit of a replay here. Awesome. So we can see Minowa doing a good job. Gets up there into outside zone 1. High up there, you can see Castro's just a little bit low. Doesn't really have the proximity in comparison. Good job. Ooh, it looks like he's a little off of that one as well too. Oh, good job in their clip 2. And then right here, similar to what he did with Odie, gets into this box and then like the afterburners come on. Yo, he's out of there. You can see Castro's just trying to like, he's trying to stay in the box. He's like, let me creep out a little bit to see if I can cheat to get closer, but you ain't catching that dude. That dude is gone. He is gone. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. Now we are going to get into a side-by-side, give you the breakdown as well too on how we saw this. This is a serious. Minowa's crazy. His tires were lit the entire time through outside zone 2. Alright, we're going to go into the side-by-side. So let me give you all my notes. Now, going into outside zone 1. Jonathan Castro gets one tire into the zone consistently through the whole way through. Minowa deep into the zone consistently the whole way through, deeper in comparison. Good proximity from Minowa. Castro initiates slow, initiates slow, and then starts to climb back up into position, but never quite gets the proximity in the zone and outside zone 1. So in that section of outside zone 1, I'm giving the advantage to Minowa. So we can see here, good placement. Minowa gets up there nice and high. You can see this is just a huge, he's about 3 lines lower. Minowa does a good job in comparison, going through. So yeah, so I'm giving outside zone 1 to Minowa, going into inner clip 1. All right, now going into inner clip 1, Castro is a bit too far on the inside, on the line of the box of inner clip 1, and then Minowa is just a bit too far on the outside and is on the line of the box of inner clip 1. Both of them have good proximity in the chase. Let's go through here. So you can see Castro is a little bit too much on the inside, gets on the line over here, and then Minowa is a little bit too far out and only gets into the line right there. So in that section of the track, because we had good proximity for both drivers in the chase, and we had, for the most part, different errors but equal errors, I have them as a draw in inner clip 1. Now, going into inner clip 2, Jonathan Castro has a perfect inner clip. Minowa has a perfect inner clip. They both have great proximity in comparison, but you can see that Minowa has just a little bit better proximity in comparison in inner clip 2. And because of that, I give that section of the track to Minowa. So I have outside zone 1, Minowa. Inner clip 1 is a draw. Inner clip 2, Minowa. Going into outside zone 2, Castro fills outside zone 2 consistently the entire way through. He does a really good job. Minowa fills outside zone 2 deeper, consistently the entire way through, and is able to establish distance just like we saw him do with Odie. Minowa has great proximity in the chase. Castro loses proximity going into outside zone 2 and wasn't able to close the gap. So this is that gap that started forming. You can see the proximity on Minowa's end is great. But this was just, and you can see he's not really in the zone here, so he's trying to see if he can just cheat a little bit and then get back into the pocket. You see he gets back, attempts to it, but it's too far gone here. Minowa just has way too much car, has good rhythm, has good line, has everything he needs. What I like is that it doesn't look like anybody got tricked or anything. This was just straight up drifting, and that's what I really enjoyed about this. Now, because of the notes and everything that I saw, or everything that I have on my notes, I ended up giving the win to Minowa as well too. The judges also as well went with Minowa as well too. Let me give you a little feedback here. I do got some notes from the judges as well on that. All right, so a couple of notes while we're seeing Minowa and everybody here getting ready for the announcement and everything. A couple of notes when it comes to Rob Nishida when it came to this. Now, Castro's lead was a textbook lead overall. Minowa's chase Starts slightly low in the bank, beginning of the bank, and then corrects the line quickly. Slightly less angle overall, but great proximity. Loses a good amount of angle in inner clip 1. Right now, Minowa's lead was a textbook lead. Castro lower on the bank and not much proximity on the bank and outside on outside zone 1 and also going into outside zone 2. Seems like Minowa was pretty much dominant in the lead and in the chase, so I had to go with the win for Minowa. Brian Egger also shares the same view on that. We saw the error that was going on in outside zone 1, where Minowa definitely did a better job of that, had better rhythm, was able to just rock it through outside zone 2. So all of us just saw it going that way. This was a good, clean battle, but again, it's not that it was too difficult to see what was going on, but I felt like this was a good opportunity to show you guys that, again, at this level, we have to look at every little thing. If you're a foot off here, you're a foot off there. If you only have a line on the box and you're not in the box, like all of that stuff is going to get taken into consideration here. So with that, we see everyone go through here.
Reese. The winner is from Japan, Minowa.
There you go. So the winner ended up being Minowa. Very well earned. He did an amazing job. He came in here with a purpose. I think what was really cool about Minowa as well is that halfway through the day, he literally just like Babe Ruthed it. He was like, I'm going to win this. I think it was like 3 battles before it happened. He won. He did great. He called it. He was feeling good. He was confident. This was an amazing battle. I mean, look at that. You see him there, like sharing a moment there with Daigo Saito. You got James Dean. You got everybody there. This is just a really historic moment in the sport to see someone this young. You know, comes from Japan, the motherland of where the sport came from, and the dude's just slaughtering out here. He's just doing an amazing job. I like that he's adapted. He's been able to now match line. He's able to match angle. He has speed. He's getting more comfortable in the car. I mean, what else could you want from a kid like this? You know what I mean? It's like just an amazing overall experience over in Orlando. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. That's all we have for the breakdown for Orlando. Get ready for New Jersey. We're going to go over there and hopefully everything goes nice and smooth. Pick 3 battles out of there. Maybe we'll even find some space for a pro spec battle so we can show them some love as well too. But stay tuned for the next episode of the breakdown. We'll see you guys in a little bit for some more battles and some more reviews. See you later.